Autumn wind swept briskly through New York City's endless avenues, weaving between towering glass skyscrapers. Olivia Carter, 27, stepped off the subway clutching her handbag and a slim folder. But today, she wasn't just another job applicant. Today, she officially stepped into her new role: personal executive assistant to Ethan Blake, CEO of Blake & Partners Realty, one of Manhattan's most powerful real estate firms. Just 3 days ago, Olivia had waited in line for an interview among dozens of sharp-suited hopefuls. Yet, out of all those polished resumes and fancy degrees, Ethan Blake personally chose her, the woman with no Ivy League name, no connections, but an unwavering gaze and meticulous notes. His reason? Her discipline and relentless drive. The automatic glass doors parted before her. Stepping into the lobby, Olivia shivered slightly from the blast of air conditioning and the palpable energy. Employees in dark suits talking briskly into phones, quick nods, curt greetings. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and whispered to herself, "Hold on to this job. For Liam." "Ms. Carter?" A deep, clear voice cut through the noise. Turning, she found Ethan Blake standing tall at the hallway leading to a private elevator. He wore a perfectly tailored gray suit, chin lifted slightly, steel gray eyes that seemed to pierce through every hidden thought. "Good morning, sir," Olivia murmured, bowing her head. She knew pleasantries meant nothing to a man like him. "Follow me," Ethan said curtly, turning away. Olivia hurried to keep up. She noticed how his strides were steady and crisp, just like the man himself, disciplined, cold, and intolerant of mistakes. His executive office occupied the top floor, commanding a sweeping view of the city skyline. Ethan sat back in a black leather swivel chair behind an expansive desk, glancing at Olivia, who stood meekly before him. "Sit." One simple command. Olivia placed her file gently on his desk and sat down opposite him, heart still racing. She had prepared everything: the client list, meeting schedules, project files, every detail neatly organized in her blue notebook. No mistakes allowed, no failure permitted. Because she still had Liam, her 5-year-old son, waiting for her back in Queens. Ethan flipped through her file quickly, tapping his fingers on the desk. "I need my meetings scheduled back-to-back this week. No overlaps, no excuses." "Yes, sir. I've already arranged your calendar for the next 7 days," Olivia answered calmly, handing him a printed itinerary. Ethan looked up. Those eyes. Deep, probing, as if trying to see straight through her soul. Olivia held her polite smile steady. Inside, she repeated one thing, over and over. "Don't be afraid, Olivia. You've got this." The morning crawled by, filled with endless phone calls, clipped instructions, and suffocating tension. Only when Ethan turned his back did Olivia allow herself a tiny sigh of relief. She knew one truth. One slip, and she would lose everything. Because this job and Ethan Blake would never forgive a single mistake. Olivia quickly became the subject of whispers among the staff, though she never sought attention. Every morning, she arrived first, checking each email, printing project documents, ensuring Ethan's calendar ran like clockwork. Amid a sea of seasoned assistants used to office politics, her tireless dedication quietly stirred envy. But Olivia didn't care. Gossip was meaningless when every night she unlocked her worn apartment door and found Liam waiting for her, clutching a scribbled drawing with a grin. She reminded herself daily, "As long as I keep this job, no one can steal my son's future." What she hadn't expected was Ethan Blake's growing interest. One morning, as she set his coffee on his polished desk, his low voice caught her off guard. "Olivia, did you get home late last night?" Her hand froze on the cup's handle. I left on time, sir." "Do you live alone?" Ethan's eyes stayed on his laptop screen, but his words pierced right through her chest. "I live with family," Olivia replied quickly, voice softening. Ethan nodded slightly, as if filing that answer away for later. He asked nothing more, but now and then his sharp eyes flicked toward her when she poured tea, organized folders, or answered calls, making her pulse race every time. Day by day, his questions became more personal. Where do you usually go on weekends? Is someone picking you up after work? You don't really look like someone who's single. Each time, Olivia forced a polite smile and redirected the topic to work. I'll email the new contract right away, sir. Despite his famously cold demeanor, Ethan began showing small, startling gestures. One late afternoon, he caught her juggling a mountain of files nearly twice her size. He stepped out of his office, calmly snatched the stack from her arms. Give me that. I'd rather not have my assistant suing me for a sprained ankle. Olivia blinked, stunned, murmuring, "Thank you, sir," just before he turned away, carrying the heavy files as if they weighed nothing. These fleeting moments of concern left Olivia more confused than comforted. She knew Ethan Blake was not a man who opened up easily. He was a wall of steel. So why did that wall seem to crack whenever he looked at her? That night, back in her tiny queen's bedroom, Olivia sat beside Liam's sleeping form, his soft hair spilling across the pillow. She whispered into the darkness, "Mommy has to be stronger, Liam, no matter what. I won't let anyone find out about you." That night, Olivia sat on the edge of the bed, watching Liam sleep peacefully. The soft, warm light painted his innocent face, his long lashes resting gently on flushed cheeks. She stroked his silky hair, and a lone tear slipped silently onto the blanket. She hated nights like this, when the silence was loud enough for old memories to come flooding back, memories she'd buried deep for 5 years. Back then, she had been only 22. Chloe's birthday, her best friend from college. Olivia had never liked parties, but she had gone anyway, for Chloe's sake. It was held in a luxurious penthouse, wine swirling in her glass, loud music drowning out giggles and flirtatious laughter. Olivia drank too much. She hadn't known her limit was so pitifully low. Through her haze, she remembered deep, dark eyes of a stranger, neatly styled black hair, a warm baritone voice, a strong hand gripping hers tightly on the dance floor. They exchanged trivial words. Somehow, they ended up together on an unfamiliar bed, inside an opulent room smelling of expensive cologne. She never dared call it love. It was just one drunken night, too blurry to recall clearly, too sweet to resist. And by dawn, when she closed her eyes for just a moment, he was gone. Only the lingering scent of him remained on the cold sheets. She never knew his name, no phone number, no note, nothing but a hazy memory that left her ashamed and hollow. In the days that followed, Olivia tortured herself with blame. Her mother's scolding words cut deeper than knives, but when she found out Liam was growing inside her, she knew there was no turning back. She chose to keep her baby, to endure the gossip, the pitying looks, and to raise him alone. Now, watching Liam sleep, Olivia felt both a deep ache and a quiet gratitude. Ache for a son who never had a father to call dad. Gratitude for the little boy who had saved her from her darkest nights. She leaned down, kissed his forehead gently, and whispered through her tears, "I'm so sorry for bringing you into this world without a father by your side." Olivia had no idea that while she wiped tears from Liam's forehead and drifted into a late sleep, somewhere else Ethan Blake lay wide awake. In his opulent top-floor office at Blake & Partners Realty, the lights still burned, though the clock crept past midnight. Ethan leaned back in his leather chair, eyes on the project proposal he couldn't absorb at all. His mind replayed Olivia's bowed head, her timid voice requesting to leave on time, her evasive eyes whenever he asked about her family. For weeks now, Ethan had noticed something odd. Olivia never stayed late. The moment the clock struck 6, she packed up her files, checked the next day's schedule, and vanished into the night. No after-work drinks, no friends, no traces, like she hid an entire secret life behind her calm smile. At first, Ethan told himself, it's none of my business as long as she works well, but that curiosity rooted itself deep, growing until it consumed him. Then came that rainy night. New York's drizzle turned steady. Olivia stood outside the office tower, arms hugging a folder, eyes scanning for a taxi. Ethan, fresh off a long phone call, strode right to her side. "I'll drive you home," he said firmly, leaving her no room to object. Olivia, startled, stepped back quickly, shaking her head. "No need, sir. I'll take a taxi." "Olivia." "Thank you, sir. I'm fine." Before he could say more, she hurried across the sidewalk, melting into the rainy blur. Ethan stood there, brows drawn tight. A second later, he unlocked his sleek black Range Rover, fired up the engine, and followed the faint taillights of the cab she'd caught. Rain hammered harder as he trailed her into a modest Queens neighborhood. He cut his headlights, waiting quietly from a distance. Through his windshield, he watched Olivia pay the driver, tug her coat tighter around her shoulders, and dash toward an old brick building. But what made Ethan's chest tighten wasn't the rundown street or the tired apartment block. A little boy darted from the hallway, beaming. "Mommy!" Olivia bent down, arms wide to scoop him up. In that brief embrace, a street lamp lit the child's face, and Ethan's heart lurched painfully. That dark hair, those eyes, those familiar cheekbones, a ghost of his own reflection. That boy, why does he look just like me? Ethan barely slept that night. By dawn, he'd ordered discreet surveillance on Olivia. He found a chance at the local playground, handing the boy a piece of candy, asking innocent questions, plucking a loose strand of hair from his little head. Enough to bring straight to the lab. In Ethan's mind, one truth echoed over and over. "Olivia Carter, what exactly are you hiding from me?" 4 days later, on Ethan's desk lay a thin envelope. Just a few sheets of paper inside, yet heavy enough to suffocate the entire Manhattan skyscraper. Ethan opened it with fingers that trembled faintly. The DNA test results, the renowned lab's logo glaring back at him. 99.9% match. Those words slammed straight into his chest. He clenched the pages so tightly they wrinkled in his grasp. A storm of questions roared in his mind. Why did she hide this? Why didn't she tell me? Why did she let my son grow up without a father? That night, Ethan stayed locked in his office. Beyond the glass walls, New York glittered endlessly. But inside, he drowned in guilt and raw regret. He replayed that fateful party in his head. The young, bright-eyed girl who blushed when he poured her wine. They had laughed, danced, let the alcohol blur every boundary. And the next morning, he'd woken up first, walked out without looking back, carrying a regret that now clawed at his soul. He had left her to bear it all alone. And now, that boy. Liam, with his eyes, his laughter, had grown up while Ethan chased money, power, and meaningless affairs. Gripping the test results, Ethan sprang up. He needed to hear Olivia admit it. He needed answers. And he needed Liam, needed to be his father, whether she allowed it or not. The next morning, Olivia had barely stepped into the office when she saw Ethan waiting by her desk. Those normally icy gray eyes now looked like a frozen lake, ready to shatter. Inside, now. Before she could set down her bag, he all but dragged her into his office. The door slammed shut, sealing out the curious stares from the hallway. Ethan tossed the papers onto his desk, his voice rough. "Explain this." Olivia stared at the familiar words. Blood drained from her face. She looked up, meeting his eyes. And there wasn't just anger there, but a deep, raw hurt. You did a DNA test on Liam?" Her voice cracked. "Yes, and it tells me he's my son. Were you ever going to tell me the truth, Olivia? Or did you plan to hide him from me forever?" But Olivia only shook her head, her lips trembling. She turned away, her eyes refusing his scorching gaze. "I don't know what you're talking about." Her voice was barely a whisper, yet unyielding. Silence fell, sharp and cutting. Ethan's jaw clenched so tight his temples throbbed. He wanted to shout, to force the confession out of her, to demand the truth be spoken aloud. But Olivia just stood there, silent, like a brick wall, guarding her secret behind walls of fear. Ethan's hands curled into fists. Are you mocking me, Olivia? I know the truth now. How long did you think you could hide him? He is my son, and I won't let anyone stop me from being his father." Olivia didn't respond. She lowered her head, gathered her files, and fled that suffocating office. Her heart pounded so violently, her ears rang with Ethan's words. She bolted out of the building, hailed a cab to Queens as if outrunning a nightmare. Afternoon rain lashed the windows, blurring the city and her tangled thoughts. Back home, Olivia dropped to her knees on Liam's bedroom floor, hugging him tightly as he sat playing with his Lego blocks. The boy looked up, blinking innocently. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Olivia just shook her head, burying her face in his sun-warmed hair. Her heart ripped open as reality slammed into her. Liam's father, the one man she had desperately tried to erase, was Ethan Blake. A part of her wanted to scream, to sob, to run far away from this city and never look back, but she knew she had no right to flee anymore. Ethan knew. He would never let this go. And what Olivia feared most now was losing Liam, losing the only thing she had left. In the days following Ethan's discovery, the air inside the company turned thick and heavy. Ethan no longer hid the way his eyes lingered whenever Olivia passed down the hall. Whispers and stares buzzed around them, feeding on the invisible tension binding the cold CEO and his diligent assistant. Yet another storm was brewing, one that would push Olivia to the edge. That day, as Olivia bent over her desk organizing files, the glass office doors swung open. The sharp click of stiletto heels cut through the marble floor. A wave of overpowering perfume arrived before the woman herself spoke. "Olivia Carter?" The haughty voice pierced the silence like a needle. Olivia looked up, locking eyes with Vanessa Morgan, the woman countless whispers claimed was Ethan Blake's secret fiancée. Vanessa wore a crimson designer gown, her dark curls sleek and shiny, lips painted a blood-red shade. Everything about her screamed wealth, power, and a sweet, dangerous threat. "What can I do for you, Miss Morgan?" Olivia kept her tone polite, but under the desk, her hands trembled. Vanessa smirked, stepping closer, leaning down to hiss near Olivia's ear. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Ethan's been losing his mind because of you. Do you think a nobody like you deserves him?" Olivia swallowed hard, about to stand, but Vanessa's manicured hand pinned hers to the desk. Her blood-red nails dug painfully into Olivia's skin. "Listen carefully, Olivia Carter. I've let you get away with this long enough. Leave this company. Leave Ethan's life. Take that brat of yours and disappear from New York. Don't make me dirty my hands." Each word coiled around Olivia's throat like a venomous snake. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Fighting for calm, she tugged her hand back, forcing a tight smile. "I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about." Vanessa scoffed coldly, flicking her eyes toward Ethan's closed office door. "You really think he'd choose you? I've been engaged to him for 3 years. You're just a temporary amusement. A woman like you doesn't belong in my world." With that, Vanessa grabbed Olivia's folder and flung it to the floor. Papers scattered everywhere. A strangled gasp escaped Olivia's throat, but she bit it back, kneeling to gather the pages like a lifeless puppet. The door to Ethan's office swung open just then. He froze at the sight of Vanessa towering over Olivia, and Olivia's eyes wide with raw despair. "Vanessa," his voice cracked like ice snapping. But Olivia didn't wait for him to reach her. She clutched the scattered files to her chest and bolted from the room, ignoring Ethan's hoarse shout echoing down the hallway. Inside her mind, only one thought pounded clear as a drum. She had to leave this place, now, before she lost Liam, before she lost everything. The next morning, New York's sky was gray and heavy, foreshadowing a brewing storm. Olivia stood before her mirror, adjusting her coat collar, her weary reflection staring back at a woman drained of all trust. In her purse lay her resignation letter, thin paper she had rewritten through the sleepless night with trembling hands. Stepping into Blake & Partners Realty for the last time, Olivia's heart hammered in her chest. She knew within minutes everything she had clung to would shatter, but at least Liam would be safe. Olivia stood before Ethan's desk, her fingers gripping a white envelope containing her resignation letter. She hadn't slept all night. Her eyes were swollen and red, yet when she spoke, her voice was calm, almost unnaturally steady. "This is my resignation. I'll hand over everything today." Ethan, buried in paperwork, looked up sharply, freezing when he saw her. His eyes flicked from the envelope to her face, darkening like a storm brewing. "Olivia, put that down. We need to talk." His voice cracked, carrying a hint of pleading. But Olivia shook her head, setting the envelope firmly in front of him, her hand trembling slightly. "There's nothing more to talk about, Ethan. I've made up my mind." Ethan pushed his chair back violently, rising so fast the legs screeched. He rounded the desk, blocking her path, gray eyes stormy and raw. "You're just going to run away?" Vanessa lied. "I was never engaged to her. It was all an act. She clings to my name for her own gain. I never—" "Enough!" Olivia cut him off, her tone low but resolute. She avoided his gaze, stepping back. "Ethan, I don't care whether it was true or not. All I know is Liam doesn't need anyone but me. I won't let him be dragged into gossip, torn between your games and women like Vanessa." Ethan caught her wrist, voice breaking. "I'm sorry I left you alone all those years. I was wrong. But don't take him from me. Let me fix this, Olivia. I'll protect you both. Trust me." But Olivia shook her head, gently prying his fingers off her wrist. "It's too late, Ethan. You don't understand. All I want is peace for my son, not a rich, powerful father whose life is an endless scandal." She stepped backward toward the door, drawing a trembling breath. Her eyes glistened but stayed firm. "Please, don't look for us again." With that, Olivia turned, fleeing the room like a ghost slipping through a door, leaving Ethan standing frozen in a storm of rage and helplessness. That evening, as sunset spilled gold over Manhattan's towering skyline, Olivia held Liam tight as they climbed into an old friend's car. They drove away from the city's glaring lights and choking rumors. An hour later, the car stopped in front of a modest house in the quiet suburbs of New York, where her mother waited on the porch, arms wide open. Olivia hugged Liam closer, whispering, "We're home now, Liam. Here, I'll protect you, always." A week had passed since Olivia disappeared with Liam. Ethan Blake was like a caged beast, pacing through sleepless nights. The top floor of Blake & Partners was always lit, yet instead of reviewing projects, he stared endlessly at surveillance feeds, reports from the private investigators, stacks of Olivia's paperwork from before she left, all sat untouched on his massive desk. Every passing second drummed one question into his skull. "Where are you, Olivia? How long do you plan to hide from me?" Vanessa tried to see him multiple times, but he kicked her out without a word. Right now, no one mattered, except the woman who'd walked away, with the son he never got to call his own. In a quiet suburban corner, Olivia believed she had buried all her traces. Every morning, she took Liam to the backyard garden behind her mother's house, teaching him to pick herbs and water flowers. Liam's laughter filled the crisp air, his black hair catching the morning sun, blissfully unaware of the storm creeping closer day by day. Yet Olivia knew their calm would not last forever. She noticed strange headlights sweeping across the window late at night. She heard unfamiliar cars idling near the cul-de-sac, pulling away the moment she switched off the lights. One night, after Liam drifted to sleep in her arms, Olivia held his tiny shoulders tight, whispering as if to convince herself, "No one will take you from me. No one." But Ethan was no longer a man who waited. After days scouring Manhattan and every outskirt lead, he drove himself through the night, following the final clue, Olivia's mother's old address. His sleek Range Rover stopped in front of a modest wooden house nestled among beds of white daisies. Ethan stepped out, his shadow stretching along the gravel path. All the anger, the resentment, it cracked and dissolved into a single raw worry. He drew a deep breath, raising his hand to knock, but froze when, through the window, he caught a glimpse of Olivia sitting cross-legged on the living room floor. The warm lamplight crowned her dark hair, In her lap, Liam lay curled up, fast asleep, one small fist clutching her shirt. A scene so serene, so painfully intimate, and he knew he'd never truly belonged there. Ethan's hand curled into a fist. A cold raindrop slid down his cheek, but his eyes no longer wavered. This time, "Olivia Carter, I won't let you run again." The knock on the door echoed through the damp suburban night. Outside, Ethan stood under the wooden porch, rain soaking his shoulders. He swallowed hard, his heartbeat pounding like a drum inside his chest. The old wooden door creaked open. Mrs. Helen, Olivia's mother, appeared in the warm glow spilling from the living room. Her kind eyes froze briefly at the sight of the tall, weary man whose gaze burned with desperate hope. "I'm sorry. I'm looking for Olivia and Liam." Ethan's voice cracked, nearly trembling. Mrs. Helen narrowed her eyes, quickly masking her surprise. She shook her head, her hand gripping the door firmly like a barricade. "You have the wrong house, young man. There's no Olivia here." Ethan clenched his jaw, eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. He was no longer the cold CEO, but a father begging for the right to hold his child. "Please, I beg you. I just want to see Olivia. I just need to tell her and Liam, just for 1 minute. Please, ma'am. Please." Ethan sank to his knees on the porch, his voice breaking into the rain and his tears. Mrs. Helen looked down at the big man kneeling like a lost boy. Her heart clenched. She knew how much Olivia had suffered, but she also saw in Ethan's eyes a raw honesty no lie could hide. She sighed, her voice thick with emotion. "Get up, son. Don't get my porch all wet. Come inside." Olivia heard the door open, the heavy footsteps crossing the wooden floor. She knew who it was. She had wished he'd never find this place, but deep inside she had always known he wouldn't give up. She stood, still cradling Liam, and faced Ethan. Their eyes locked, heavy with memories, regrets, and 1,000 unsaid words. Ethan stepped closer, his voice hoarse with held-back tears. "Olivia, I'm sorry. Please, don't shut me out anymore. Don't take Liam away from me. I know I was wrong, but I swear I'll make it right. Let me be his father. Let me protect you both." Olivia pressed her lips tight, her shoulders trembling. She had sworn to be strong, unshakable, yet here, a single "I'm sorry" shattered all her armor. "Ethan, you don't understand. Liam is everything to me. I can't lose him. Can't share him with anyone." Ethan took another step, his trembling hand reaching for hers as she held Liam. "I won't take him from you. I'm begging you. Let me be his father just once, Olivia. Let me call him my son. Let him call me daddy just once. If he doesn't want it, I'll walk away forever." Olivia broke down, tears spilling hot onto Liam's hair. The child stirred, nestling closer. She looked at Ethan. His eyes held no pride now, only a pleading man laid bare. She nodded, her voice breaking like the night wind. "Okay, you can see him." Ethan sank to his knees, eyes level with Liam's sleepy ones. The boy blinked, his tiny hand touching Ethan's damp cheek. A heartbeat later, his soft, shy voice fell like thunder into Ethan's soul. "Daddy?" That first word, it shattered them. Olivia clutched Ethan's shoulder, sobbing. Ethan wrapped his strong arms around mother and son, pulling them close as if to hold his whole lost world. In that fragile moment, bitterness melted away. Only a trembling whisper remained, inside a tight, tearful embrace. "Daddy's here. Daddy loves you so much. I'm so sorry. I'm here now." In that tight circle of warmth, the three of them cried until no words were left. Ethan never imagined tears would fall because of a child, a little boy with his eyes and his smile, who had spent his first years without him. Olivia pressed her cheek to Ethan's shoulder, feeling the solid warmth she had both hated and longed for. His breath trembled, as though he feared she would vanish if he let go. From a few steps away, Mrs. Helen dabbed the tears stinging her eyes. Deep down she understood. No matter how far her daughter ran, Olivia could never outrun the truth. Liam needed a father, and Olivia needed stronger arms than just her own. Ethan slowly loosened his hold, cupping Liam's small face in both hands. His voice shook, but was firm with a vow. "Look at Daddy, Liam. Daddy promises. From today, you will never cry alone again. Daddy will be here with Mommy and you forever." The boy giggled, his tiny fingers tapping Ethan's nose, eyes sparkling wide. "Daddy promise?" Ethan laughed, the first real laugh since endless days lost in shadow. He dipped his head, kissing Liam's forehead tenderly. "Daddy promise, Daddy swear, cross my heart." Olivia's fingers curled around his hand, warmth flowing through that simple touch, washing away years of doubt. Her eyes softened, no more guarded, no more afraid. Only the man she once loved, and still did, though she had sworn herself to forget. "Ethan," her voice was gentle as a breeze, "are you sure you won't walk away again?" Ethan stared deep into her tearful eyes, leaning his forehead gently against hers. "I could lose everything, but I will never lose you and Liam again." Outside, the rain had finally stopped. Inside the cozy wooden house, warmth returned for the first time in years. Mrs. Helen brewed hot tea, watching the little family gathered on the rug before the fireplace. Each knowing storm still waited outside. But as long as they trusted and loved each other, no storm could tear this bond apart. Ethan lifted his eyes, gazing at Olivia, then at Liam snuggled against him. In that fleeting moment, Ethan Blake, the man who once believed power and money were everything, finally understood. A family is what he'd trade the entire world to keep. The next morning, New York sky was unusually blue, as if the whole city knew a little boy was about to hold his father's hand under the sun for the very first time. Ethan wore a simple sweater and dark jeans, far from the polished CEO he was known to be. He knelt to tie Liam's shoelaces at the porch. The boy bounced excitedly, eyes sparkling like a tiny sun. "Ready, little hero?" Ethan asked, laughter rumbling in his chest. "Yes, let's go, Daddy," Liam squealed, clutching Ethan's hand as if he'd never let go. Olivia leaned against the doorway, watching father and son walk toward the Range Rover parked by the gate. Inside her, happiness blossomed, but so did a fragile fear of losing, fear of believing and being shattered all over again. Central Park welcomed them with gentle early spring sunshine. Ethan lifted Liam onto his shoulders, racing across lush green lawns. Every step brought a burst of giggles, Liam's laughter echoing through the trees. Olivia followed slowly, snapping photos of every fleeting joy. Liam squealing as bubbles floated around him. Liam flinging his arms wide as Ethan, pretending to be a monster, chased him around a tree. By noon, the three rested under the shade of an old maple. Ethan dabbed sweat from Liam's forehead and popped open a small tub of ice cream. The boy gobbled it eagerly, smearing his cheeks, chin, and hair, while Ethan chuckled, clumsily wiping him clean. "Daddy is my superhero," Liam suddenly shouted, waving his ice cream spoon like a sword at Ethan, making passers-by chuckle. Ethan hugged him tight, burying his face in Liam's sweet vanilla-scented hair, voice cracking with love. "Daddy loves you more than anything." Olivia sat a few steps away, sunlight pooling on her dark hair, her eyes shimmering. Today's photos, today's laughter, too beautiful to believe, too fragile to believe it could last forever. She clenched her camera, heart tugged between hope and fear like a thin thread, but for the first time in 5 years she allowed herself to wish that Liam would always have this man by his side. Wish that this time Ethan would keep his promise. By afternoon, the sun dipped low over cobblestone paths. On a park bench, Liam dozed off, nestled against Ethan's chest, mumbling softly, "Daddy, superhero." Ethan looked up and met Olivia's eyes. He smiled, no longer cold, but brimming with gratitude and a promise unspoken. A single tear slid down Olivia's cheek, disappearing into the golden dusk. She whispered under her breath, as if praying to herself, "Please, let my son truly have his father this time." 1 week after that first day of fatherhood, Ethan never once returned to the polished halls of Blake & Partners. He took an extended leave. The first time in his life, he abandoned towering contracts and bottom lines to learn how to be a father, a role unfamiliar, yet worth more than any billion-dollar deal. At dawn, people no longer saw the cold CEO by his luxury car in front of the skyscraper. Instead, they glimpsed a simple man pushing a small bicycle. Liam perched behind him in a bright red cap, giggling as they strolled through quiet streets. In the cozy suburban wooden house, the kitchen was always warm. Mrs. Helen smiled gently seeing her daughter cooking breakfast, while Ethan clumsily peeled boiled eggs, mixing milk for Liam. Whenever his big, awkward hand brushed Olivia's, they would glance at each other shyly, like new lovers rediscovering each other. That afternoon, Ethan sat on the porch steps, cradling a dozing Liam. Olivia stepped out quietly, draping a small blanket over his shoulders. "You'll have to go back to the company soon," Olivia said softly, worry flickering in her eyes. "Blake & Partners can't run without you forever." Ethan hugged Liam a little closer, murmuring, "I know, but I won't let work come between my family again." Olivia watched him for a long moment. Between them now, there were no more walls built from old wounds, no more fear of losing. Only a complete family, the one they had lost for so long. "What will you do?" she asked, her voice gentle as the garden breeze. Ethan chuckled, brushing Liam's hair aside, his eyes glowing warm and soft. "I'll work less, stay home more. I won't let my son grow up missing his father's hand. And," he looked straight into Olivia's eyes, "I want to marry you. This time. No lies. No one to stand in our way." Olivia smiled, tears shimmering at the corners of her eyes. She bent to kiss his forehead, whispering, "Liam and we've waited for you for so long." That night, in the gentle glow of their bedroom, Liam curled between his parents, sleeping like an angel. Ethan squeezed Olivia's hand, pressing his forehead to hers under the golden light. "Thank you for giving me a second chance." Olivia nodded softly, eyes drifting closed as her lips brushed his. Not the fiery kiss of lost lovers, but a calm, tender promise for tomorrow. Outside the window, the little street lay asleep. Inside the wooden house, a new family was beginning again. Imperfect, but wrapped in love. After days of peaceful life in the cozy suburban house, Ethan knew it was time to bring Olivia and Liam back to the city, the place he once feared would tear them apart, but now the very place that would witness a new family begin. He didn't say much. One morning, as he bent to tie Liam's shoelaces, he looked up at Olivia with a calm, unwavering gaze. "I want you and our son to come back to Manhattan. Come home with me." Olivia froze at the sink, soapy water dripping from her trembling fingers. Memories of old scars and storms in that city rose like a tidal wave. But then Liam, still in his red cap, darted around Ethan, squealing, "Daddy, Mommy, home." Just 3 words, "Daddy, Mommy, home," were enough for Olivia to know maybe this time the city would be a true home. Ethan kept his plan a secret. He had a sunny penthouse prepared, filled with warm colors and fresh flowers. He wanted Olivia to step inside and feel it was no longer a cold fortress, but a real haven. That evening, Ethan asked Olivia to wear a simple dress and led her up to the rooftop, now secretly transformed into a glowing garden of white roses under soft golden lights. Olivia stepped into hundreds of blooming roses swaying in the Manhattan breeze. She turned, stunned, to see Ethan drop to one knee, opening a small velvet box. Inside was a one-of-a-kind engagement ring, its stone carefully chosen and engraved by Ethan himself. "Forever yours, Olivia Carter." Ethan's voice was low, trembling but unwavering. "I lost you once. I missed Liam's first years. I don't want to lose another second." He drew a shaking breath, words raw in the night air. I promise to protect you and our son, to be a real father, to make up for every tear you cried alone. Please, marry me. Let me love you, this time, the right way." Olivia's hand flew to her mouth, her shoulders shaking as tears streamed freely. "I was so scared. Scared loving you again would mean losing everything," her voice cracked. "But now I know, Ethan. As long as the three of us are together, nothing can break us again." With trembling hands, Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger. When the diamond caught the city lights, Olivia fell into his arms. That night, beneath the New York stars, they held each other like they would never let go again. Weeks later, Liam turned 6. Their penthouse bloomed with blue and white balloons and a superhero cake Ethan had specially ordered. For the first time in his life, Liam blew out birthday candles with both Mommy and Daddy by his side. "What did you wish for?" Ethan asked, smiling, his arm around Olivia's shoulders. Liam closed his eyes tight, planting a soft kiss on both his parents' cheeks, whispering, "I wish Daddy and Mommy stay with me forever." The candle flickered out and a cheer rose all around them. Ethan bent, his lips brushing Olivia's ear, whispering a promise as old as love. "Our son's wish. I'll make it come true, Olivia." Among childish laughter, sweet cake, and twinkling lights, a once broken family now shone whole and bright, like the first rays of spring over the Manhattan skyline. And in Olivia's heart, for the first time, forever no longer felt like a fairy tale, but a promise she could believe in.